Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. Tonight, I want to talk about something many of us have faced: silence. Not just any silence, but the kind that follows a breakup, the kind that lingers in a relationship when love fades. The kind that doesn't just hurt, it speaks, because when someone says nothing, it can reveal everything. This isn't just about heartbreak. It's about reclaiming your self-worth, learning to read what's unsaid, and finding strength not in the noise, but in the quiet. Let's talk about what that silence really means and how you can rise above it. Sometimes the loudest message someone sends you is the one they don't say out loud. It's easy to get caught up in analyzing the things people do say, what they promised, how sweet they once were, what they said when they said they loved you. But here's the truth, it's the silence, that tells the real story. When someone pulls away, when they stop showing up, stop checking in, stop trying, that silence isn't neutral. That silence is a decision, it's communication, just without words, and I know how tempting it is to wait, to give them the benefit of the doubt, to think maybe they're busy, or maybe they're going through something, and sure, life happens. But consistent silence, emotional distance, that void where connection used to live, that's not about being busy. That's about someone choosing not to prioritize you. What we do in those moments says everything about how much we value ourselves. Because silence is uncomfortable, right? It leaves space, and we hate space. So we try to fill it with meaning that makes us feel better. We create stories to explain it. They're afraid of how much they like me. They're bad at communication. They've just been hurt before. But at the end of the day, none of those stories change the fact that they're not showing up for you. And when someone stops showing up, stops communicating, stops putting in effort, that is effort. It's an effort to remove themselves. It's their way of saying, I'm not all in. That doesn't make them evil. It just means they're making a choice. And now you have one to make too. We can no longer afford to treat silence as confusion. It's not confusing. It's clarifying. It draws a hard, clean line between people who are really there for you and people who only ever stood beside you when it was easy, convenient, or exciting. And here's the kicker. When we ignore that silence, when we stay, hoping it'll change, we teach ourselves something really dangerous: that our needs don't matter. That being ignored is acceptable. That if we're quiet enough, patient enough, low maintenance enough, maybe they'll return. But what kind of relationship are we building on those terms? One where your silence in response to their silence just stretches the pain out longer. The person who values you doesn't leave you wondering. They don't leave you waiting for signs of life. They communicate in both words and actions. They create safety and clarity. And when you don't have that, the silence becomes your answer. Because when they say nothing, it says everything. One of the most painful things we do in relationships, especially the ones that are falling apart, is make excuses for someone's lack of effort. We take someone's absence, their silence, their emotional withdrawal, and we try to turn it into something that sounds noble, something that doesn't hurt as much. They're just stressed right now, they've been through a lot, they're not good at expressing themselves, and maybe those things are true. But here's what's also true. People show you what matters to them through their actions. Period. When someone is invested in you, you don't have to decode their behavior like a mystery novel. You don't have to play detective in your own relationship. trying to find clues of love in the few texts they send or the occasional moments of connection. Love doesn't show up as a breadcrumb trail you have to chase. It shows up fully, consistently, and with intention. But what we do, what so many people do, is fill in the blanks for them. We start doing their emotional labor. We rationalize, we soften their silence, justify their distance, and convince ourselves that what we're getting is enough when deep down we know it isn't. We lower the bar a little more every time they disappear and come back. We tell ourselves, well, they reached out eventually, as if that counts for something meaningful, as if a delayed response to your heart is the same thing as presence. And here's where it really starts to hurt, when you begin tying your self-worth to their inconsistency. When you believe that their lack of effort means your not worth the effort, that maybe if you were funnier, sexier, more chilled out, then they'd show up for you. But the truth is, their lack of action says nothing about your value. It only says something about where they are and what they're willing or unwilling to give. The most honest thing someone can do is not what they say, but what they choose to invest in. If they're not investing in you, stop investing in them with your thoughts, your time, and your peace. You deserve someone who doesn't leave you guessing, someone who makes you feel chosen, not just tolerated. Don't keep trying to revive a relationship where you're the only one bringing it back to life. If you're always the one initiating, always the one forgiving, always the one fighting to make it work, you're in it alone. And love can't be one-sided, no matter how much potential you see in them. So the next time they go quiet, the next time they drift, resist the urge to explain their behavior for them. Let their silence speak for itself, and let your response be rooted in self-respect, not fear of losing someone who isn't afraid to lose you. Stop making excuses for their absence, because effort is a choice, and so is indifference. One of the biggest traps we fall into after a breakup, or even while we're still in a relationship that's falling apart, is believing that someone's lack of love, attention, or effort is a reflection of our worth. We start questioning everything about ourselves. Was I not enough? Did I do something wrong? What could I have done differently to make them stay? And I get it. That pain runs deep. But just because someone couldn't show up for you the way you needed, doesn't mean you weren't worth showing up for. What happens is we attach our self-esteem to the approval of someone who couldn't meet us where we were. We think, if they don't want me, then maybe I'm not desirable. Or, if they walked away, there must be something wrong with me. But that's not the truth. That's the story we tell ourselves because we haven't yet separated our identity from their behavior. Their inability to love you properly says everything about their capacity, not your value. You could be the most loving, thoughtful, emotionally available person in the world. And if you're with someone who isn't ready, who's closed off, selfish, avoidant, or simply not as invested, you'll still feel like you're not enough. Not because you aren't, but because they don't have the tools, the willingness, or the emotional maturity to meet you at your level. And when that happens, it doesn't make you less worthy. It just means they're not your person. Think about it. Have you ever held on tighter when someone pulled away, just to prove that you were good enough, that you were lovable enough, that they were making a mistake by letting you go? That's not love. That's validation seeking. That's trying to win someone who already decided not to choose you fully. But the truth is, you never have to earn love that's real. Real love doesn't make you feel like you have to constantly audition for it. You don't need to prove your value by convincing someone to stay. Your value is already there. It's in the way you care. It's in your effort, your loyalty, your heart. And if they couldn't see that, that's on them, not you. You're not hard to love. You just loved someone who wasn't capable of receiving it. When someone leaves, it's easy to think the loss is all yours. But sometimes the real loss is theirs for not recognizing what they had in front of them. You don't have to shrink yourself to become someone they might want. You grow into someone you're proud of, and trust that the right person will see you clearly without needing to be convinced. Because your worth isn't defined by who walks away, it's revealed by how you rise after they do. One of the hardest things to do after a breakup, or even while you're still technically in the relationship, is to let go of the fantasy. And I don't just mean the fantasy of the relationship itself. I mean the fantasy of asterisk who you thought they were asterisk. The version of them that existed in your mind, not in reality. The version that was consistent, kind, emotionally available. The version you hoped they would become if you just gave them a little more time, a little more love, a little more patience. But when you're constantly holding on to potential asterisk, you're not in a relationship. You're in a waiting room, waiting for someone to become something they've never been. And the longer you stay, the more invested you become in the story rather than the truth. You start editing out the parts that hurt. You highlight the good moments. You remember how amazing they can be when they're on. And you cling to those little moments, convincing yourself that asterisk version of them is the real one, and everything else is just temporary. But what if it's the other way around? What if the best parts you saw in them were the exception, not the rule? What if the reality of the relationship is exactly what you keep trying to ignore? That's where the pain really comes from, not just from losing them, but from losing the idea of what you thought it could be. The truth is, we fall hardest not for the person in front of us, but for who we believed they were at the beginning, or who we imagined they could become. And it's comforting to hold on to that fantasy because it gives us hope. Hope that the silence will end. Hope that they'll wake up and finally realize what they have in you. Hope that the inconsistency is just a phase. But hope isn't always helpful when it's keeping you stuck in something that's hurting you. The longer you cling to the fantasy, the more power you give it over your healing. You stay in relationships longer than you should. You revisit situations that already broke you. You keep trying to fix something that only works in your imagination. But real love doesn't live in fantasy. It lives in reality. And reality, as uncomfortable as it is, brings clarity. It brings freedom. It allows you to finally grieve the truth instead of the dream. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't love them. It means you love yourself enough to stop waiting on a version of them that never consistently showed up. It means choosing peace over potential, choosing reality over wishful thinking, because healing begins the moment you stop holding onto what could have been and finally face what was asterisk. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to stop believing in the person they could be and start accepting the person they actually are. There comes a point where you have to ask yourself a simple question. If I respect them so much, why don't I respect myself the same way? We bend over backwards for someone who won't even meet us halfway. We stay quiet so we don't rock the boat. We tolerate mixed signals, delays, emotional absence, all because we're afraid that walking away means we've failed. But staying in something that dishonors you isn't loyalty, it's self-abandonment, and I get it. Walking away is hard. It's terrifying. There's a part of you that thinks, maybe I'm giving up too soon. Maybe this is just a rough patch. Maybe if I hold on a little longer, things will go back to how they used to be. But let me ask you this asterisk. How long have you been trying to make it feel the way it did at the start? Asterisk, how many times have you quieted your needs just to keep them comfortable? We've been taught that real love fights, that you should hang on and work through things. And yes, real love asterisk does asterisk take effort, but it takes effort from asterisk both asterisk people. It's not about one person constantly overcompensating while the other stays distant and detached. If you're the only one holding the relationship up, it's not a partnership. It's emotional exhaustion disguised as hope. And here's what happens when we stay too long. We slowly lose ourselves. We become smaller. We second guess our worth. We walk on eggshells, trying not to be too much, too emotional, too needy, but your needs are not a burden. Your standards are not too high. They are simply a reflection of the love you're willing to give, and that you asterisk deserve asterisk in return. The idea that walking away is weak couldn't be further from the truth. Asterisk walking away takes courage. Asterisk it takes strength to say, I love you, but I love myself more. It takes strength to choose the unknown over a predictable pattern of disappointment. It takes strength to stop hoping that they'll change and start trusting that you will heal. The moment you choose to walk away, you reclaim your power. You stop letting someone else dictate your worth through their behavior. You stop waiting to be chosen and start choosing asterisk yourself asterisk. That's not giving up. It's showing up for the one person who's always needed you the most, you. We spend so much time waiting for someone to realize our value, but what if the whole time the real work was about realizing it for ourselves? Respect isn't just something you want from them. It's something you owe to yourself. And the more you practice that, the less tolerance you'll have for being treated like an option. So, if their silence continues, if their actions don't align with love, don't match the effort you're giving, then don't stay silent too. Walk away not to punish them, but to protect your peace. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't to fight harder, it's to asterisk finally stop fighting for the wrong person. Asterisk, there's a moment after the silence, after the heartbreak, when you're left standing there, confused, hurt, maybe even angry, and you ask yourself, asterisk, what now? Asterisk, and in that moment, you have a choice. You can keep replaying what happened, going over every detail, wondering what you did wrong, what you could have done differently. Or you can take all that pain and turn it into fuel, not to win them back, not to prove a point, but to rebuild something far more important asterisk you asterisk. Breakups have a way of stripping everything down. They expose the places where we gave too much, where we stayed too long, where we lost parts of ourselves trying to be loved by someone else. And it's easy to feel broken in the aftermath, but you are not broken, you're cracked open, and in that space, where it hurts the most, is where growth begins. Healing isn't about forgetting the person or pretending it didn't matter. It's about learning from it. It's about saying, this changed me, but it's not going to asterisk define asterisk me. We don't heal by rushing into distractions or trying to find someone new to fill the void. We heal by sitting with the discomfort, by asking hard questions, by rebuilding trust in ourselves. Because somewhere along the way, maybe you stopped trusting your gut. Maybe you silenced your own voice to keep the peace. But now is the time to listen to that voice again, to nurture it, to ask, what do I need now? And actually honor the answer. You start putting your energy into things that light you up, not because it's a coping mechanism, but because it's a reminder that your life is still yours, that your identity is not tied to who stayed or who left, but to the choices you make every day. Choices to move forward, to grow, to love yourself enough to create a life that isn't waiting for anyone to complete it. And what's beautiful is that when you do this, when you rise from a place of truth instead of pain, you don't just heal. You evolve, you stop accepting bare minimum, you stop chasing people who don't see you, and instead you start attracting the kind of love that mirrors the way you treat yourself. A love that's whole, a love that's secure, a love that feels like home, not a battlefield. So don't let this breakup be the thing that breaks you. Let it be the thing that builds you, the catalyst that made you pay attention, the wake-up call that pushed you back into alignment with who you really are. Not just someone who survived something painful, but someone who transformed because of it, because healing isn't just about moving on. It's about rising up.